Zoe Gardner debates Ellie Rolfe on X about left-wing position supporting migrants' rights rather than mass immigration. This went viral on X today and it was updated 4 hours ago. It says Zoe Gardner responded to Ellie Rolfe on X, arguing the left-wing stance advocates for migrants' rights rather than high immigration numbers. The response sparked widespread replies on the platform. Yeah, Zoe Gardner. Zoe Gardner. She's one of these people completely bereft of any talent, totally ignored by the general public. I was following her on YouTube years ago. Her numbers were terrible. She had something like 5,000 subscribers over 3 years. And all of a sudden, because she's relatively attractive and white, and she says all the right things, she gets blasted by the mainstream media. And I'm sick of seeing her now. She's never off the TV. When you're a man, you have to put all the effort in, you have to make... I think I've done over 1,000, haven't I? All the blokes with a big platform on YouTube, they've put the effort in for decades. People like Carl Benjamin. Zoe, ignored by the general public for years, and now you can't get her off the BBC. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into this. I'll tell you exactly what was said, and then I'm going to surprise you by doing something I never thought I'd do, and using Bernie Sanders to refute a left-wing argument. Because unlike the limousine liberals in the United Kingdom, Bernie actually is a dyed-in-the-wool left-winger. I don't agree with any of his arguments, but he's like Jezza. At least he's always been consistent in this position, and I think he makes a better argument than me when it comes to immigration numbers. Zoe, well, she blocked me years ago. She's got no interest in anything I've got to say, but maybe Bernie will talk around. Nah, Bernie won't talk around, will he? No chance. I think Zoe Gardner will only listen to you if you're wearing a daft orange turban or praying on a rug with your head on the deck. She's not interested in what straight white men have to say. But to address the issue from a left-wing perspective, I'll do my very best. Let's have a listen to Bernie. Oh yeah, here's Zoe's page. Look at the state of that. Views from a year ago. 736 views, 471 views, 519 views. If Simon Webb filmed himself wanking, he'd get better views than that. Anyway, here's that interview I'm talking about. It's with the left-wing platform Vox. I'm sure you've all heard of it. These people aren't friends of the right wing, but at least they give an honest left-wing interpretation of why mass immigration, the one that's been forced upon the United Kingdom, despite the fact everybody in Britain has been aggressively anti-immigration since Enoch Powell gave his famous speech. You know this is true. Every one of these people could realistically be tried for treason. The general public, every single time they've been asked, has said, we don't want any more immigrants. David Cameron's entire platform was about getting immigration down to the tens of thousands. Boris Johnson the same. Theresa May the same. And what did we get? Every single one of them flooded the UK with millions and millions. In fact, they reckon under 4 Conservative Prime Ministers alone, we got over 10 million people moved to the UK. And all while promising the exact opposite. So it was forced upon you against your express wishes when they had manifestos and platforms and gave big long speeches how they were going to get migration down to tens of thousands. It's truly preposterous that we feel we even need to answer for ourselves or have a debate with anyone about it. Oh, incidentally, I have something to say about that before I sign off. But for now, Bernie, please tell Zoe why she's a bell end.
Something that is in what you said about being a democratic socialist is a more international view. But I think if you take global poverty that seriously, it leads you to conclusions that in the US are considered out of political bounds. Things like sharply raising the level of immigration we permit, even up to a level of open borders, about sharply increasing
open borders.
Foreign aid.
Open borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. The
Really?
idea, of course, I mean that's a right-wing proposal, which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot
me.
of global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state. And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. If you believe in a nation state, or in a country called the United States, or UK, or Denmark, or any other country, you have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. You know what youth unemployment in the United States of America today?
There you go. There's Bernie knows the crack, doesn't he? It's not good for poor working class people if you bring over several million scrubbers from the third world who work for pennies. And if you don't know the Koch brothers, I'm sure a lot of people in the UK don't, Koch Industries is the second largest private company in the United States by revenue. And as of 2026, Charles Koch, the last one who's alive, is worth $71 billion. Him and his brother were worth $100 billion between them. So they're the guys who want open borders, which is why working class nationalists of every stripe have been saying, nobody's serving our interests. Boris Johnson was obviously looking out for his mates, doing as he was told. Same goes for the lefty arseholes. So, on to Zoe. Ellie Rolfe's original post simply said this: how is mass immigration left-wing when endless supply of cheap labour helps capitalists and not workers? It strip mines talent from developing countries, endless pressure on the housing market, inflates assets and prevents the poorest from having a cheap house, and a refusal to train enough people removes vocation paths that the working class used to follow. Yeah, every working class woman in my hometown in the 90s wanted to be a nurse. You didn't see any African nurses in Middlesbrough back in the 90s because all the local girls liked doing that job. But now, well, you're as likely to catch Ebola from a nurse as you are from one of the patients. It's unbelievable. And then Zoe, evasive as always, said, oh, no, it's not that we want to support high immigration numbers, even though we advocate for open borders. It's because we want to support the migrants' rights. Yeah. And you will find Bernie's got the answer for you there as well, sugar tits.
You have a nation-state structure. You always are going to. The politics don't allow anything else. But I guess philosophically the question is, how do you weight it? How do you think about what the foreign aid budget would be? How do you think about poverty abroad?
And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, again, as a United States Senator from Vermont, my first obligation, frankly, is to make certain that kids in my state and kids all over this country have the ability to go to college.
There you go. Very sensible, very obvious to anybody who's not a maniac. His first responsibility is to the kids in his state, which, if God was good, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom would actually understand and therefore be more concerned about kids in Glasgow and Cardiff and Liverpool than he is about random Eritreans, Somalians and Afghans, which we know he does care more about because of his insane globalist worldview, and he told us as much when he said he much preferred Davos to the Houses of Parliament. There you go. Oh yeah, and before I finish up, bonus Bootneck from this argument on Twitter, because an absolute bell end, I needed to tap the sign once again, tapping Mr. Wars' famous sign. Total nonsense, but I'll share it with you out of morbid curiosity. When I posted yesterday, what's blatantly self-evident to anyone with a room temperature IQ is that ancient religious fanatics are of less interest to me than how many thrusts were provided by the Somalian immigrant that bounced on that Norwegian politician's dirt box a couple of years back. I don't even slightly care. And my point was, you might as well, if you're trying to tell me I have to pick a side in an ancient desert feud, you might as well ask me if I prefer Jamaica or Barbados. It hasn't got a single thing to do with me. Anyway, this bellend said that it's a forensic fact that there is no indigenous pureblood Briton. Today's white British is a product of massive unassimilated migrant. Blah, blah, blah. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. So obviously I responded with the actually guy, and then because he kept goading me, I mean, you know, lots of people goad me on the internet. I've got a quite big platform. Lots of people like to bait me, if you want to call it that. I mean, obviously I'm more than happy to rise to the bait because I'm an argumentative prick. But I digress. In response, I just said to him, you're basically doing that woke, pretending not to understand your thing, which is self-evidently ludicrous. You don't need to get into the weeds with these people. When he says the English doesn't exist, I pointed out that my DNA test wouldn't have an England category on it, would it? If it's not a thing, if we're all from Germany and France, and Norway and Denmark, and the Netherlands and anywhere else where people occasionally turned up from. There wouldn't be a category for England on a DNA test, would there? It'd just say, haven't got a Scooby-Doo, mate. Or it'd omit it altogether and it'd say, you're Celtic and French. But it doesn't say that. It says, I'm from southwest England, northwestern Europe, East Midlands, the West Midlands, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and a teeny little bit of German, which you would entirely expect to see from a fair-skinned, blue-eyed Englishman with a square manly jaw and a cock a foot long. Easy, isn't it? So remember, if anyone starts talking about this shit, just tap the sign, lads. Just tap the sign. There it is, that one. That one, if you haven't seen it before. We all have to thank Mr. Wars for providing us with that one. So what do you think? Do you think Bernie's making a good argument? Do you think that the left in UK, which isn't really left, like some sort of weird authoritarian globalist fascists, if they actually cared about working class people, they wouldn't have stopped talking about the borders for the last 10 years. But Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer and all the rest of them have been even trying to drum up some support in the last 48 hours since they got trounced. They've all been curiously absent when it comes to the topic of immigration. Very strange that they don't bring it up not once in any of the shit speeches they've made, isn't it? So what say you? Do you think it's all bollocks? Do you think Zoe believes a single word that she says? Do you think Mr. Honest Lens here was actually arguing in good faith and he genuinely doesn't know what an Englishman was? You know, he couldn't just walk up to a 70-year-old white bloke with a flat cap on in a little working men's club somewhere near his house and say, shows your school photo, Grandpa, and then see a whole load of Englishmen staring back at him. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm back in business, so I'll see you all tomorrow. All right, thanks for tuning in. Toodle pip. Cheers.